I'm extremely thankful for this next fighter in 2023 and just through his UFC career, but I'm talking about Jim Miller. Making his debut at UFC 89 with a submission victory over David Barron, Jim Miller's DNA is forever ingrained in the UFC. Gray Maynard, Duane Ludwig, Joe Luzon, Anthony Pettis, Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier, Takanori Gomi, Nate Diaz, Cowboy Cerrone twice, Charles Oliveira twice. Those are just some of the fighters that he's fought over his UFC career. He's demanding to fight on UFC 300 in April and is still taking a fight at the January Fight Night card, the Johnny Walker card. The dude is a savage. He's had his ups and downs, wins his losses, some setbacks from injuries and illness, but the Iron Man will not be denied of his UFC 300 fight. By the way, this old man by UFC standards has quietly won 4 out of his last 5 fights, all by finish, including 3 TKOs and 1 submission over Cowboy Cerrone. I'm thankful for the fights Jim Miller's given us so far this year, and I'm excited to see who he matches up with come UFC 300. And just in case the UFC was wondering, who's Freddie thinking he should fight? I've got an idea for him. I got a good matchup, I think. I think a fight between Jim Miller and Michael Chandler makes a lot of sense, and for a few reasons. Chandler's coming off a loss. He's won 1 out of his last 4 fights, but he's fighting the stiffer competition. He's fighting in the deepest end of the deepest division in the UFC. He's an OG of the fight game in his own right. His fight catalog speaks for itself. He's got fight of the nights against pretty much everybody he's fought so far in the UFC. He deserves a big fight as well. Both of these guys are never in a boring fight. I don't blame Chandler for waiting for Conor. It's a good business decision at the end of the day. He's got to support his family, so I understand why you would want to wait for a big fight. All I'm suggesting is that if it's the business of the UFC and if the business of the UFC wants Mike Chandler to fight and he's willing to take a fight, why not against the Iron Man himself, Jim Miller? Great matchup. The fans would love to see it. UFC 300. Let's see if iron really sharpens iron.